Hello everyone, here we are starting with biology portion class 10th and we will continue the chapter life processes. So let's start. So, nutrition in animals. As we all know that multicellular organisms have a proper system for every function. Similarly, in animals also there is a particular system for particular function. So today we are discussing about digestive system. So before understanding this process, it is very important to know about the system or all those organs or parts in which that function occurs. So you can see digestive system, it can be divided initially into two parts, that is alimentary canal and digestive glands. Digestive system is that system which is responsible for whole digestion process. So it is divided into two parts, alimentary canal and digestive glands. Starting from mouth up to anus, all the parts are included in alimentary canal, whereas there are certain glands also which are responsible for this digestion process. So this whole alimentary canal and digestive glands are combinedly known as digestive system. So we can see here in alimentary canal what are those organs which are included. Initially we can see mouth, then buccal cavity, then pharynx, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine and anus. Whereas different glands are also there. For example, salivary glands which are present in buccal cavity, then gastric glands which are present in stomach, liver and pancreas, these two glands are associated with small intestine, and intestinal glands are also present in small intestine only. So these, it was just an overview of that digestive system. Now you can see the diagram. Here we have shown human alimentary canal. Here we will discuss different parts in sequence. Like we have just discussed that first part is mouth. So food is taken by the mouth from here. Afterwards, next part is buccal cavity. Although in this diagram it is not shown, but here this portion is buccal cavity. So buccal cavity is that part which is surrounded above by the palate, on the sides by jaws, and lower portion it is covered by the tongue. So that is buccal cavity. It means we can say that buccal cavity, it consists of teeth, tongue and salivary glands. Now what are the functions that we will discuss later on. Afterwards, after buccal cavity, next portion is pharynx. But pharynx, we know that it is a common pathway of our digestive system as well as respiratory system. So we know that while swallowing the food, it it never enters into our respiratory system. Why? Because there is a region near to the pharynx, or we can say when the pharynx is opening into esophagus, a region is present in between, that is glottis, which is covered by a lid like covering, epiglottis. So this epiglottis is a lid like structure which prevents the entry of food in our respiratory tract. Now after pharynx, next part, you can see that food, it enters through this portion, and here we have a long narrow tube. This long narrow tube is known as esophagus. So esophagus is a long narrow tube where no process, no digestion occurs, but the walls of esophagus are responsible for undergoing peristaltic movement. So what is peristaltic movement? It is contraction and relaxations of walls which provides easy movement of food towards stomach. Now you can see that esophagus, it is connected to the stomach. This one is stomach, and it is a J-shaped muscular structure. We can see that inner walls of stomach, they are muscular, and these muscles are responsible for secreting certain gastric juices. So gastric glands are present in this region only. So food, it reaches from this part to this part, stomach. Now as soon as food reaches to the stomach, we can say that when the food reaches to the stomach, here partial digestion occurs, not complete digestion. But at the same time, liver, this is the gland. So liver is responsible for secretion of bile juice. Now you can see that there is a balloon like small portion associated with this region. You can see this blue one is bile duct, which is responsible for passing that bile juice to the small intestine. And this liver, it secretes bile juice and it is stored in this region, that is gallbladder. So bile juice, it is secreted into the small intestine, and at the same time pancreas are responsible for secretion of pancreatic juices. Now when the food, it reaches from stomach to small intestine, you can see this portion, it is the starting portion of small intestine and end portion of stomach. So small intestine, it is divided into three portions, that is duodenum, jejunum, and largest portion of small intestine, it is ileum. So three portions of small intestine. Now when the duodenum receives the food, what happens? It moves along this path here and in this region. This is small intestine. Here only pancreatic juices are secreted and bile juice. Afterwards, here complete digestion occurs, and along with that complete digestion, in these walls of small intestine, some finger-like projections called villi are present, which are responsible for increasing surface area for absorption of food. So when the food is digested in this region only and food is absorbed also, afterwards the remaining portion, or we can say undigested food, it reaches to this part, and this one is large intestine. So large intestine, again it is divided into three regions, that is cecum, colon, and rectum. So these three are the portions of large intestine. Now you can see that end portion of small intestine and starting of large intestine, that is cecum, here it is associated with a very special organ, that is vermiform appendix. Now vermiform appendix, it is also known as a vestigial organ, although it exists in our body but it has no function, because it was of some use for our ancestors, our forefathers, when they were dependent on cellulose containing food. For digestion of cellulose it was required, but now due to evolution it is a vestigial organ. Now afterwards, when the food, it reaches to the cecum, it moves toward this portion, that is colon, and colon is responsible for absorption of water from this undigested food. And as soon as absorption of water occurs, the remaining one is ultimately waste. So it reaches to the rectum portion, where we know that in rectum it is temporarily stored and then it is removed, or egestion process occurs from anus. Now it is mechanism of digestion. Mechanism of digestion, here we are discussing how digestion process occurs. Now see, first part is mouth. So we have already discussed that mouth is responsible for ingation process, that is intake of food. Then next portion is buccal cavity. We know that buccal cavity, it is a large space containing teeth and tongue. And teeth, we know that 32 permanent teeth are there, and these 32 permanent teeth are of four types. For example, incisors, canines, premolars and molars. So what is a dental formula? We can see 2 1 2 3. Incisors 2, canines 1, premolars 2 and molars 3. So 2 1 2 3. Here 2 plus 1 3 plus 2 5 plus 3 8 and into 4 it is 32. So in this way we can say that this dental formula is just for one side of one jaw. Now we know that tongue, it is for rolling and tasting of food. And here in buccal cavity, it is responsible for only partial digestion, not complete digestion. Partial digestion means only few substances are digested, and these are also not digested completely. So we know that salivary glands are present here. So salivary glands are responsible for secretion of saliva, and saliva, it consists of enzyme called salivary amylase. So you can see that salivary gland, it is responsible for secretion of saliva, and saliva contain an enzyme that is salivary amylase. Now what is the function of this salivary amylase? It is responsible for conversion of starch into maltose. Conversion of starch into maltose. So whatever food you have taken, that out of that food starch is converted into maltose. After this, next portion is pharynx. We know that in pharynx no digestion process occurs. Next one is esophagus. Esophagus, it is a long tube in which no digestion occurs, but it is responsible for peristaltic movement. Afterwards, next portion is stomach. Stomach, it is a J-shaped organ, we have already discussed it, and here also partial digestion occurs. It means this part is also responsible for only digestion of few substances. After this, stomach, it is responsible for partial digestion that we have discussed right now. Now you know that certain glands are present in stomach. Those glands are gastric glands, and these glands are responsible for secretion of gastric juices. So gastric juices consist of three substances, that is HCl, pepsin and mucus. Now what is the function of HCl, pepsin and mucus? We can see functions of HCl, pepsin and mucus are, firstly we will discuss about HCl. Now HCl is responsible for killing the germs. Germs, anyhow, if those germs are entered through any media into your digestive tract, those germs are killed by the help of hydrochloric acid present in your stomach. And second function of HCl is to activate pepsinogen. We have discussed here that pepsin, it is one of the components of gastric juice. Actually what happens that when this gastric juice secrete these three substances, this pepsin is not in active form, it is inactive inactive form, or we can say that pepsinogen. So what happens, this pepsinogen is able to get activated in the presence of this HCl only, or in the presence of acidic medium. So HCl is responsible for activation of pepsinogen. Now what is the role of this pepsin? Pepsin is responsible for conversion of proteins into peptones. We can say partial digestion of proteins into peptones. And mucus, it is responsible for protecting inner lining of stomach. Means we know that if HCl is secreted in our stomach, it can damage or it can harm or it can corrode the walls of stomach also. So to protect the inner lining of stomach by the action of HCl, mucus is secreted in our body. Now next portion is small intestine. As we have already discussed that small intestine is the largest portion of our alimentary canal and it is the site of complete digestion. Means in small intestine digestion process occurs completely. Now we know that associated with small intestine there are two glands. Two glands are liver and pancreas. Now, what are the functions of liver and pancreas? We have discussed it that liver is responsible for secretion of bile juice, whereas pancreas is responsible for secretion of pancreatic juices. Bile juice, it has two functions. What are those two functions? First one is emulsification of fats. Now the food which has reached ultimately to the small intestine, in that food certain nutrients are there. So out of those nutrients, for conversion of large globules of fats into smaller ones, that bile juice is secreted by the liver. We can say that for conversion of large globules into smaller ones, that is emulsification process. And the second function of bile juice is that it provides alkaline medium for activation of pancreatic enzymes. You know that pancreatic juices which are secreted by the pancreas. Pancreatic juice secreted by pancreas consist of certain pancreatic enzymes. When those pancreatic enzymes are secreted, they are not in active form. So to convert them in active form, that bile juice is required because they are able to get activated in the presence of alkaline medium only, and that alkaline medium is provided by the bile juice. So these were the functions of bile juice. Now pancreatic juices, we have discussed it that pancreatic juices are secreted by pancreas, and pancreas when secrete pancreatic juices into duodenum part or small intestine, these pancreatic juices have following components: amylase, lipase and trypsin. These three components are present in pancreatic juices. We can say that these three enzymes. So first one is amylase, second is lipase and third one is trypsin. Now carbohydrate, fats and proteins. We know that the main component of our food, it is carbohydrates, fats or proteins. So we have to discuss here that how those carbohydrate, fats and proteins are finally digested in small intestine. You can see that carbohydrates are converted into sucrose, lactose and maltose. So we can say that carbohydrates are converted into sucrose, lactose and maltose. Although sucrose, lactose and maltose, they are also one of the form of carbohydrate. But we know that these carbohydrates are complex, and to digest means to convert complex into simple. So carbohydrates are converted into sucrose, lactose and maltose. Now sucrose, it is converted into glucose. Sucrose, it is converted into glucose and fructose. Sucrose is converted into glucose and fructose. Lactose is converted into galactose and glucose, and maltose is converted into glucose. It means that when the digestion of carbohydrates occur, when the digestion process of carbohydrates occurs, This carbohydrate is converted initially into sucrose, lactose and maltose, and sucrose is converted into glucose, fructose, lactose into galactose, glucose and maltose into glucose. You can learn it in that way also, that carbohydrate, it is converted into three components, that is sucrose, S, L and M, lactose and maltose. Then you can see that glucose is present in every maltose, lactose and sucrose. So glucose is one of the component of every these components. Then fructose, here galactose, and here only glucose. So you can learn according to your convenience, but carbohydrates are converted into sucrose, lactose, maltose, which are further converted into glucose, fructose, galactose, glucose and maltose into glucose. Then come to the fats. Fats are converted into fatty acids and glycerol. So amylase is responsible for carbohydrate digestion, lipase for digestion of fats, and trypsin, it is responsible for digestion of proteins. We can say that peptones, which were initially converted in stomach only, peptones, they are converted into dipeptides and further they are converted into amino acids. Now here we have already discussed that in small intestine some small finger like projections are present, which are known as villi. So what is the function? Villi, they are present in small intestine to increase the surface area for maximum absorption of food, because villi are richly supplied with blood vessels. So out of that absorbed food, blood vessels, they absorb the food into blood. Now next portion is large intestine. So when the food is completely digested in small intestine and when it is absorbed too, after this the remaining portion or the remaining part or the waste part, it moves toward that large intestine, and large intestine is responsible for absorption of food. And we have discussed it that three parts are there: cecum, colon and rectum. Out of this, colon is responsible for water absorption and rectum for temporarily storage of that undigested food or waste. Now next and the last portion of alimentary canal is anus, so which is responsible for digestion process. It means that when the food was taken in or when it was ingestion process was occurred by the mouth, and the last portion, it is anus, out of which waste is removed.